Good evening. I'd like to call the special town council meeting of February 24th to order, please. And if we can all rise, if you are able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Buganski. Councilor Lewis. Councilor Balboni. Councilor Carey.
Present.
Mayor Delnicki.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Saracusa.
Present.
Councilor King. Here. Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Pendleton.
Okay. I think we can pick up where we had some discussions. We'll start with the, we have the orange section first. You got Councilor King. Yeah, that's the one that'll be easier to read. On the items that we had, we weren't, on the smaller version with all the colors. This is where we left off last week. Some of the items in yellow were the ones that we were unsure of, where we needed clarification on. And then if there's any other items that need to be added or changed, we can go back to those. So let's start with section 204, line item, I think on here it's line item 9. Should P and Z be changed so that the equal number of candidates are put up each election cycle? I think we had some discussions on that, if that was feasible or not.
Is that the one that Bonnie did? You can't, oh, sorry. Everybody got those, but then Bonnie revised it for us, and we sent it to Rich. Did you get a chance to look at what Bonnie sent you around planning and zoning?
What was sent?
As part of the charter, there was a proposal to make some changes to planning and zoning, the way that we do the elections. And so Bonnie Armstrong sent you a document probably Wednesday. Do you have a copy?
I just have the email that she sent to
Rich?
you on February 21st at 11:44 a.m.
Okay.
is regarding the restricted voting for planning and zoning. Subject line says proposed change to charter for P&Z.
So we might need to skip this.
I do not have that. When was it sent?
Friday at 11:44 a.m. from Bonnie.
I apologize. I have it right here. Okay.
Because it mentions when there's election of 4 members, if one party takes 3 seats, then the next year during an election for 3 members, the majority can't change. Bonnie stated that this statement holds true for a 2-party system, but may not necessarily hold true with 3 parties, which South Windsor currently has.
Okay.
So I guess currently the charter states at no time will there be more than a bare majority of any one political party on the Planning and Zoning Commission. This statement ensures that the maximum number of one party on the P&Z at one time would be 4 members. There's, I guess, what Councilor Carey, I don't understand what she's really trying to propose either. So if we want to just move on, and maybe hopefully next week, if we have an answer.
What are you trying to propose?
So what we are trying to do is set it up so that you could have the majority change on that second. You know, the way planning and zoning is people are on 4-year terms as opposed to 2-year terms. And because it's 7 people, it goes, you vote for 4, and then you vote for 3.
I understand.
And it's the number of people that you can put up, because also within planning and zoning, you can never have more than like a basic majority. So you can never have a super majority in planning and zoning. So we're trying to address, was there a different way to word it so that you could balance? Because right now, you can change the majority every 4 years, but on that middle election, the majority can never change.
Assuming that everybody in that 4-year cycle, everybody that gets voted in when there's 4 people seated are all from the same party. Is that what you're suggesting?
No.
Right, so that would be the majority, and the other 3 would be the minority. And then you're saying that when the 3-year vote comes around, you'll never be able to get the majority out, right? There'll never be a change in the majority because you'd only have 3. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can take it offline, and I'll show you what we're talking about, and we can see if we can tweak the language.
Okay.
We just have to do it by next Monday.
Yep,
I was gonna say, is it in here? Is it in this email, what you're proposing?
I think Bonnie sent it to you, yes, I believe it was attached. But,
There's no attachment to this.
okay,
So if there's language that you'd like to propose, I think you need to put that forward so we can kind of chew on it and, figure it out and see if it works.
okay. I have a copy of what we started with, so let me bring that to you after this meeting.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Counselor Pendleton?
if I may, can we go back to number 2? After I watched the meeting and I took notes, and I didn't have this colored paper at the time, I had what was sent to us, the bigger paper. On number 2, the suggestion was to remove the treasurer completely, but you presented it as a hire or an appointment at the last meeting when their recommendation was to remove the treasurer completely.
Well,
and-
Counselor Pendleton, I would rather go through what is still outstanding, and then we can go back.
Oh, that was, because it wasn't agreed upon. I wrote down who said yes and who said no from the last meeting, and I circled it as a topic of conversation. And I wasn't here, so I'd like to be able to put my input in, since it is a special meeting to do so.
Because it was only myself and Counselor Fitzgerald that said appointed. Everybody else said elected.
Right, but it shouldn't have been presented as either, because CRC recommended removal of the treasurer. If you read their recommendation, it's to remove the treasurer and give the duties and responsibilities back to finance, which would make complete sense because finance does do that now, and they are audited every year.
That's why right.
Yeah, they're audited every year independently, instead of having someone come in off the streets for a 2-year position. And if you read the duties under the charter of what the treasurer is, they're allowed to invest our money and take our money to the bank in their pockets. That's what it says in the charter that the treasurer does. So instead of having, any Joe Schmuckatelli off the street that gets elected, I would rather have the responsibilities fall under finance, which already does those duties anyways, to have it assigned to finance and eliminate the treasurer completely. And that was up for conversation from the last time.
Yeah, I apologize because it shows here green, so this should have been.
It should have been
You're showing
removed.
green as,
Agree to, right?
right, but you're making it look like it was, you're agreeing with the Charter Revision Commission, and they're the ones that said saying to get rid of it as
Oh,
long.
Because it was being presented as a hire or an appointment, but they were suggesting that it's removed completely.
Right.
Which I totally agree with their suggestion, because it's safer, whatever actions that the treasurer does is safer within our finance department that does get audited independently once a year, and not the duties and responsibilities of taking and investing our money or bringing it to a bank. So that's why I wanted to revisit number 2, because it was up for discussion and presented wrong. So,
Right, it is wrong on the sheet. It should have been yellow. I agree.
I'm sorry, it should have been yellow. I'm sorry.
If you,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
But if you don't mind, if we can continue with the others and then go back to the
Sure,
treasurer
sure,
one?
Sure, absolutely, I'm sorry, I just.
Nope, that's okay.
Because we went to P
Yeah,
and Z.
because it threw me off too, now
It was
that you
kind of
brought
out
it
of
up.
order, so I wanted to make sure that we revisit too.
Nope, I
That's all.
understand. That
Thank
threw
you.
me off, yes, thank you. 208, vacancies, line number 13. This is the one, I believe, Attorney Corella, you were going back to correct the 3 days,
you would go
should
by
be
the
30
numbers.
days, and the appointment can still be approved by town council as other boards and commissions.
No, 19, 13, no.
The charter? We're working off.
You're working off the notes from the Charter Revision Commission. Last meeting, you asked me to give you a red line of the actual charter, where line by line, we made those changes that you discussed at the last meeting. I think that's what my charge was after the last town council meeting. I think with all due respect, Mayor, it might be easier to kind of walk through the actual charter with the red lines and see if it comports with what your understanding of the requested changes are and what you guys want to do in terms of changing the language.
Right, you got the 30 days in here, yep.
Yeah, so I did correct that, and I think I did make the changes that you asked for regarding the nomination.
Still be approved by the town council.
I'm not too sure I understand what you're saying about approved by the town council. This says that if there's a vacancy in elective office, the town council, including the town council and from the Board of Ed, shall be filled by the town council. I don't know,
That's what I think we're talking about, when we had the 2 vote to fill the before Councilor Fitzgerald.
this section is regarding vacancies in elective office, all right? Somebody's elected, all right, and then they, for whatever reason, can't hold office anymore, okay? It says that the vacancies in elective office, including town council and Board of Education vacancies, from whatever cause arising, shall be filled by the town council with a person of the same political party as that of the former incumbent as nominated by such political party, unless the incumbent was a non-registered voter, in which case the successor shall be a non-registered voter within 30 days of such nomination.
And that 30 days is what you added because of the,
What we experienced earlier in this year,
correct.
last year, right,
Correct, okay.
with a vacancy of an elective office, okay?
Okay.
Does that answer everybody's
I think
concerns?
that answers everybody's question from last week.
Could I ask?
Sure. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for putting that together. I think we also talked about the case of an individual getting voted down and having there potentially be something in there in order to expedite getting another nominee in there, having whatever political party is nominating that person to have to come up with another name, so it's not just this continuous cycle of 30
think-
days, same person.
Yep, I understand. I think as amended here, it covers that concern, all right? It puts the onus on the political party to give you a nominee, right? And then you have to act within 30 days. You don't have to prove it within 30 days, you have to act on it within 30 days. If you deny that appointment, the onus is back on the political party to give
Because you
you another
acted
name.
on it within the 30
And you start a
days.
new 30-day clock.
Okay.
That's
So-
the way I'm reading this as amended.
So essentially, whatever party could keep putting up the same name, but you're protected within the charter to say that's your prerogative to keep doing so?
Yep.
Okay. Do you see anything wrong with, I don't want to deny somebody the ability to serve, but do you see anything wrong with, like, putting a protection in there to where a Republican or a Democrat can't keep getting put up in that slot? Because I think it is important to get a 9th or 8th or however many slots you need to fill person on there.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking there.
I'm saying if the town council denies the person that's put up,
Right.
is there a way to put in there where that same person can't be nominated again, so it's not this continuous cycle for the duration of the current sitting council? I don't want somebody to not be able to like run again or be nominated again in the future. Is that too complicated to do something like that? Yeah, like the same, so, correct, so then I understand that you could technically just go on this cycle with the same person over and over, and this would protect that, but is there a way to have it be, well, if that person's turned down for the duration of
Go right
this
after-
current
right after
council,
here.
that same name can't be
Yeah.
put up again?
I mean, that, we could put something like that in there.
I think that's what we talked about.
I don't know if you want to put
last time.
something in like that in there, but that's up to you guys if you want to add something like that. I think what you want to, I think you, the broad strokes of what you want to ensure here is that these are elected officials, right? The people voted a Democrat or a Republican or an unaffiliated, UCP party person into that office. And the intention is to honor the wishes of the voters to fill it with the same political party. That may not happen the first go-round, may not happen the second go-round. People's mores and thoughts might change about it. People might have a different view after talking with the proposed candidate. There might be a variety of reasons. I don't know if you want to kind of tie your hands or the party's hands so much in this document that it would preclude you from considering somebody that they put up the first time, and maybe something changed. I mean, just.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be unfortunate if another vacancy came up and,
Yeah.
You have a problem with volunteerism. I do like now that this would protect, because there was a lot of confusion when that happened before, as far as the time clock, and I think what you did here clears that up. I was just curious to see if there could be any more level of complexity, but I think after hearing what you said, I agree with you.
I think for purposes of the charter, simple is better,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on how and when and who, just the broad strokes of same political party, give you guys a shot clock over which you have to kind of make that decision. If you want to reject that candidate, it goes back to the political party. They got to come up with another candidate or tell you why the person that they put up is the right person
Okay.
and convince you of that, all right?
That's good. Well, for the sake of a consensus, after my comment and what you said, I do like what
Okay.
is written in here, and I appreciate you doing that.
Counselor Carey?
I have, one is a question, but one is just, where we use the term successor shall be a non-registered voter, comma, should we say the town council must act within 30 days of such nomination? I was looking for where you said they must act, and I don't see it.
It says shall be filled by the town council with the person of the same political party, blah, 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 within 30 days of such nomination. We can move within 30 days of such nomination. I think, how would you say it otherwise?
I would just insert, the town council must act within 30 days of such nomination.
It says within 30 days of such nomination.
Yeah. Shall be filled by the town council, blah, 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 within 30 days of such nomination.
And should be filled is more specific than act.
Shall be filled by the town council, which shall act as.
But I thought that
could say which
what,
shall be.
so I thought what the attorney said was that we need to act within 30 days, not that.
That's where it says within 30 days.
Okay, versus filling.
That's more specific.
Yes, it is, then act. And what we're saying is we just have to act within 30 days.
No, we need to fill it within 30 days. That's what we're saying.
Well, but this is the reason I want to put the words in, is because I think we're leaving too much room for interpretation.
It says shall be filled by the town council.
Yeah, that's what she's arguing, is not.
I think you're getting hung up,
Right.
and this is a good point, but I think you're getting hung up. The idea of filling the elected office is, it's an important concept that you have the power to do it and not the body that's losing the elected officer. So if a P and Z elected person, or they're appointed, if you have an elected office, say Board of Ed, right? And this has happened in other towns, right? If you have a Board of Education slot that's been elected and that person leaves, there's been fights between town councils and boards of education as to who fills that slot, right? In some towns, it says the Board of Education. And so you have to be very clear in your charter that it's the town council that's filling the position. I think that's the concept that you want to get across here. And then we're talking about the timing in which that happens is also an important aspect of it that was vacant from the prior version of this. I think what you're saying, Councilor Carey, is you don't want to be tied to a 30 days to fill it. You want to be tied to 30 days to act.
Correct.
And vote up or down a nomination.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that was the scenario you just gave me.
Right, no, I agree. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just talking through Councilor Carey's
Yeah.
concern, what I think is your concern.
That is-
Right?
absolutely.
Okay. So I think shall be filled by the town council is an important part to have in here because it outlines the fact that that power rests in you and not in the other body that's losing the elected person. However, if the person said, we can add something that says, you know, and the town council shall act within 30 days of such nomination, or words to that effect, right? And the town council shall act within.
Well, that doesn't cover filling it within 30 days.
It does, because filling it will be up top in the first part of the paragraph.
We have 2 meetings in 1 month, so that's where it would take place during that 30 days, to fill the position within 30 days.
But that's not what it's trying to say here.
It's not the
Councilor
intent.
Viganski, your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, help me out,
Seems like,
Mike.
it seems like this is erasing the ability to potentially vote no. Like it has to be filled within 30 days.
Well, yeah,
That's the
for
way
We're
I
not
read it.
saying, we're not
Government.
saying that it has to be filled within 30 days. There are other statutory provisions that are not, your charter can say whatever it is what you want to say about filling the vacancy. That's, you have two major things to consider right now. Number one, do you want to have the ability to fill vacancies in elective office? Yes? I'm asking you all.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's covered, right? The town council shall fill the vacancy. The next part is I'm telling you, so that we avoid the problem that we had earlier where there was no end in sight to filling this and it could have gone on forever. You have to be a council of 9. Other legislative bodies have to have a certain number of members in there, okay? You have to fill elective offices and you have to do it expediently. Some statutes give you a period of time. You can choose how you fill it, but it has to be filled. So I'm trying to put some time frames in here within which you and future town councils will be bound to act within a certain period of time. You just can't let these things drag on. You want the political party to bubble up a name, right? Fine. You have to act within 30 days on that, yes or no? And then the process starts over, so that it doesn't go on forever.
I think we're just concerned about the wording, and I think if you put a period after the word voter,
And then
instead
start
of
a
a
new
comma,
sentence. Yeah.
and then put, the town council will vote within 30 days of such nomination.
Right, I think the way it's written now, it very much says shall be filled by the
Within
town
30 days.
council within 30 days.
That's the way you're reading it now.
That's the way- that's the way we're
And that's-
reading
And
it.
that's a fair point.
And that's
Should it say
problematic
must?
because, you know,
Oh.
to either side, you put somebody up, the other, you don't want them, you just wait out the clock, and then they just,
Yep.
well, you're out of time and you gotta rubber stamp them anyway.
So we'll have
I
a
think we have to
period
be
after,
very-
of a period after the word voter, and then a new sentence, the council shall act within 30 days of such nomination.
Right, and you can even expand, you know, I don't want to get, again, to your point, you don't want to get into the weeds, but you could put some broad language in there that, you know, you know, to the extent that, you know, a replacement should be seated expeditiously or something to that. And where it's not an exact time frame, but it still says you can't just sit on your hands forever. Does that make sense? Are you
Counselor Pendleton?
Are you catching me?
I think we need that other second part to it, though, the expeditiously part, if you say that we fill it within the 30 days. Because then the 30 days restarts again, if we don't fill it within the 30 days. I think what's concerning me, too, is if, right now, we're looking at 2 major parties here. But we could have 3 parties sitting up here. We could have 4 parties sitting up here. You know what I'm saying? So there might be 2 people from one party. And if one of those people step down, you only have 1 person from that party. So now you want to get that other person in there as quickly as possible so they have a voice also on their
Agreed.
political side. So us filling a seat within 30 days, if we don't, then it restarts. And maybe that should be spelled out because that's not in here.
Well, I think that's what we want to do, is we want to make sure that that clock resets, right? Because otherwise, the way it's written, right, if you read this black and white, it says, you know, I resign, and they want to put someone in this seat, you guys don't like that person, all they have to do is wait the 30 days, the clock runs out, and you don't have a choice now. That's the way it's written
So
here.
the clock of the restarting of the 30 days should be maybe written in here. If a person is not seated within 30 days, then the clock restarts. Then
As
another
long as,
name
as
can-
long as the council votes, as long as the party nominates someone, the council votes yay or nay, and if it's a nay, then the party should nominate a new person. But now you have 30 days to start the process over again, instead of all of a sudden you're under the gun because you have to seat someone.
Right.
And that
So-
takes away the council's ability to do its job, quite frankly, right? Because anytime if you have a clock that's ticking,
Right.
you just wait it out, and then you don't have a choice.
So then a reappointment, Rich, maybe, or something, or the new start on the new. If we voted no on somebody, if somebody was voted no, then the process starts all over again. Somehow write that in there. Is that what you're saying, Mike?
I don't think it's necessary.
Something, unless,
Yeah, to Carolyn's point way back at the beginning, I think if we make it 2 sentences, whatever vacancy shall be filled by the town council, period.
filled or
That's
not
that-
filled,
No.
Well, we
It's
still
our
have the power to
responsibility
fill the
fill
seat,
vacancy.
right?
right? So that sentence gives us the power
Right,
to replace that elected position.
right.
Then the second sentence says, you make the commentary about the party who nominates the replacement, then the council acts within 30 days on that nomination. I think that sets the 2 pieces apart.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
One is the duty of the council,
Right,
and the other one is then acting on that duty, but it's not binding you to a specific period of time such that the other party can just run the clock out, and then that person ends up with the seat no matter what.
Attorney Correll, could it say something like,
I know.
I think we should just
Once-
use,
much
the town
medication.
council must act.
Deputy Mayor, go
once
ahead.
the respective party
Yes, I should. Attorney.
puts a nomination to the town council must vote on said nomination. If the vote is successful, the individual would be seated at the council. If the vote is unsuccessful, the respective party has another 30 days to put up another nomination. There just needs to be,
I was gonna, practically, what you all just said practically is the way this works right now, okay? Because it shall be filled by the town council, it has to be by a person of the same political party, and we added as nominated by the political party. So the political party is the one that's putting the name up. And then if we add this sentence, which I agree, I think after the word voter, period, the town council shall act within 30 days of such nomination. The action occurs, if you vote yes, the person's seated, it's end. If you vote no, there's still a vacancy. A vacancy in elective office shall be filled by the town council, right? So it starts over again, right? You don't have to state it all, it's still vacant. The political party still has to put up another name, right? And you still have a new 30 days. So I think it works without too much more tweaking.
Madam Mayor, I do have one question. In here, I just have a question, and I don't know the answer to this. In here, we say town council and the Board of Ed, but doesn't the Board of Ed do this for their own board? Or did we do it for their board?
That's why it's in here.
Okay, that's why, I didn't know, I'm just asking
Yeah,
the
we
question.
approve it.
I think
Okay.
there's a statute about the Board of Ed that says that they'll fill their own vacancies unless otherwise designated in the charter.
Okay,
I think there's actually a statute that allows boards of ed to fill those vacancies of their own body unless the charter says otherwise.
okay.
So,
Oh, right, okay, I forgot, so I just wanted to ask.
Mr. Paterna.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to start to explain how we came to our resolution here, but I also want to ask a question. In your scenario that you're now picturing, what happens if in the second 30 days the majority still votes no?
You go to another 30 days.
starts again.
That's 90 days.
Yeah.
What happens if the majority still votes no?
To
Now you're
the
at
previous
120.
mayor's point,
120 days.
that's the issue.
Right.
I've been quiet because you guys want to work out, oh, but if the coupon says I can
That's the
use it in
issue.
30 days, but no, the coupon says until. The issue is, which I believe is what is the stop date?
Right.
And that's the issue.
There's no
That's
stop
what you
date.
guys are-
In your scenario,
Right.
there's no stop date.
Right.
Well,
You can go
that's-
next 30 days, the clock starts, you vote no on that nominee.
That was my first comment, though, that I was trying to prevent that from happening.
From
How?
keep going and
Yeah.
going and going and going.
Well,
How?
the nominating party would have to come up with a new name.
No, if a new name is turned down, what do you do?
I mean,
That 30
that's
days goes.
unf-
Now it's into 90 days. If the third nominee, the majority votes no. Okay, so that's
But
my,
in this, with all due respect, in the scenario that your team presented to us, in my eyes, it takes away the integrity of an election. You know, the people of South Windsor voted all 9 of us
Right.
into the council, and in the scenario that we were presented, it was, we don't approve
no, that's
the
not
the
what we're saying.
nominated party. Well, that's
No.
how it was
We
presented and
talked,
written to
we
us.
talked a long time about this issue, so let me take you back to square one. If I'm political party A and you're political party B, what you're saying in terms of you approving that position to fill a vacancy is that I can look at your nomination before the election and say, I'm in the seat now. I'm going to say, our party, doesn't like that one person you're nominating. So don't run them. That's what you're saying when you say the council has to approve this position. No. The election was held. It was a XYZ party. The person is nominated by that party, and they brought forth, and they come to the council, and they're seated.
No, that's,
You're approving everything.
That would
So
just-
it goes back to the election. You're going to approve the election and who's running?
so why would we have to approve board and commission members, but
Because
not
they're not elected.
town council?
Because they're not elected positions.
That doesn't, that's, that
It's a
would
big
make even-
difference.
But you do realize this is
It's
the
a
way
big
our
difference.
But you realize this is the way our government works now, right?
Well, you
Well,
agreed with us.
No,
last
no,
time.
but that's why we said we were going to come back and discuss this. At the end of the day, if the governor nominates a sitting whatever, or the president of our United States, President Trump, said, such and such out of Florida is now my guy for the state. He's representing our country. Whoever the guy's name is, Rubio.
The Senate, right.
The town doesn't get another vote. The state doesn't vote. They get appointed.
For state senate and state rep, we do. We have
Yes.
to hold another election, an entirely new election. If somebody,
They can be appointed.
nope, not on state level.
No, you're right.
So,
Yep.
yeah. I'll leave out the details on how I know that, but
I'm just saying, we talked about this a
Mr.
lot. It was an
Paterna, in my
important issue for
opinion,
us.
in my opinion, the folks voted, the folks voted for this council, for everybody, right?
Right.
So if the majority reads one way, in the eyes of the town, that's what the majority of the folks wanted. So if a particular party decides that they don't, it's not that they don't like them, that they don't agree that that person should be on the council, well, this council represents the town as a whole. So we should have the ability to vote on that individual. And the scenario, I think you left before we started talking about
If it's
this
a- if it's a
last week.
resignation,
Pardon me.
Person step down.
What's that?
If it's a resignation, the person
So in
has
your
stepped down.
scenario, the day after the election, somebody that is all shiny and good that you know could get voted in, could get elected to the town council, and there could be somebody that, let's just say, like Mr. Balboni, that had a hard time getting on boards and commissions. You know, maybe an easy way to get him on the council would be, hey, let's run this nice shiny person, have them resign the day after the election. Oh, now Mr. Balboni is appointed, you have to put him on the council.
Excuse me, Mr. Deputy Mayor, you're giving me a hypothetical that has never
Well, that's what
happened.
you're
Never-
giving us.
Wait, never happened in the history of this town. Just
Until
did.
recently.
It's never happened.
What do you mean? It just happened this council.
What just did?
We just had somebody resign
Yeah, but
right away.
it's not because they were put up as a placeholder to
I-
get elected.
I understand that, but I
But
mean,
that's the scenario you gave me. Somebody's shiny and new, we get them elected because their
That-
name is well known, then they resign the
I'm
next day.
telling you that there's ways to work around an election with the scenario that we were given. It's just not right in my eyes. And it's not a Republican or Democrat or UCP thing or unaffiliated thing. It's for the voting people of our town.
Okay.
You can't just sit somebody here. We all 9 of us, Miss Pendleton has been doing this for a very, very long time. We all worked really hard. Steve talks about this all the time. We all worked really hard during the campaign, really hard during the elections, out at thousands of homes, some of us. And then you're saying that we can just place somebody on because that's who you want. I think all 9 of us have the one of the same, if a Republican was put up, there's not saying that one of the Republicans want to vote no for that person as well. It's not a cross-party line thing.
Well,
I go against the people to my left all the time. What's that?
It was a party line vote this time for this replacement.
No, that's not true at all, actually. It's not true at all. Our current mayor voted differently, so.
Yeah, I know, the mayor tried to get things moving, that's what
I
she was
think we
doing.
worked-
I appreciate that.
Can I,
Yes,
So
Councilor
I'm just giving you our history. You can make whatever comments, it's gonna come back to us, we'll respond to that and get back to you in 30 days.
All right, can I ask what your intent is 30 days, and it has to be filled within that 30 days?
Right, our intent was the 30 days, right?
Not 30 days and
And then
recite.
start the clock again and stuff.
Okay,
No, it could be dragged on, yeah.
okay. That's your intent, okay.
Yeah, if we can get a real firm 30 days, that's it, something's gonna happen, that could be fine. But you can't drag it on for another 30 days, and then another 30 days. Because that's what can happen in that scenario. You don't have any guarantee that there's any penalty to pay for going beyond the deadline. Okay?
Councilor Pendleton, did you?
yeah, I'm a little concerned now with reading because the red is the final, right? That's what we're going with? This is off the long sheet, not the charter as it's written right
This
now.
says final 12, 27, 24 vacancies.
Yeah.
And that 3 days should be 30 days.
No, wait. Because then it says here, vacancies will be filled by the appropriate political party affiliation at the time of the previous election. Vacancies for TC will not be approved by the seated TC. So that's their recommendation. That's theirs to us, okay? So I want to make that clear, that the CRC is saying that the TC
Will
should
not.
not approve they should approve, but they're saying it's not approved, but they have to be approved if they're, are being appointed, actually. So I guess I want clarification on that, Mr.
think-
Paterna.
I think, well, Attorney Corella, I think you brought that up last week. That was not the intent, that the town council does not approve. I think,
That's what the big question is.
yeah.
And just, can I add to that, the big question? When a person resigns, it is the political party that chooses a replacement,
Correct.
okay? And you mentioned voters. Democrats that are not a part of, but they can give their voice to other people that are on the party for the caucus to choose a nomination. So other Democrats that they can talk to, other Republicans that they can talk to, and they can say, yeah, I've been out in the world here in South Windsor, and I've gotten 15 people who said, yes, we should go with that nomination. That's us speaking with the voters and saying what we need to say, and then us taking it back to our caucus and saying, okay, this person's nominated. So now that person comes before us, but a majority votes no on that person. Well, it's the 6 sitting here right now that voted no on somebody that was supported by the DTC, but no, 5 that got you, sorry.
Actually 4.
4, sorry. So, well, my point being is that we need continuity of government to happen quickly. We need 9 people, as the town attorney says. We need 9 people here. For the TC, they're recommending that the TC does not vote to put that person in. Their recommendation would be, isn't that what I'm reading right here? That the TC does not vote to put that person in?
Yeah, they just want somebody to come sit.
So they want to have a person, so they just want, are they appointed then?
Turn the mic back on. Andy, turn the mic back on. Thank you.
They're appointed by the sponsoring committee, whether it's Democrat, Republican.
No, they're nominated,
UCP.
but who gets them to sit here?
It's an automatic filling the vacancy by the committee. That's what we said.
Oh, that's what you're
That's
saying?
just our opinion.
Okay, that's a CRC's opinion.
Right,
That it's an automatic, given that that person should be able to be
right,
welcomed or appointed to the council?
right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I want a clarification on that, because what I'm reading here in the red, because then you guys are talking about voting on that person.
Right.
So that's going against what CRC is recommending.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I want a clarification on that.
That's why it's in yellow.
Okay, so, yeah, well, I got a bunch of papers here.
I know.
So in the
If you
yellow,
look,
that is.
if you look at the red
Mayor,
line
Deputy
version,
Mayor, she has the floor.
look at the red line version. He rewrote what we thought he should say. We just never took a consensus. That's why it was in yellow.
I have a blue line version, but.
Well,
No,
blue line.
the yellow is on the,
Mine's not, oh, yellow on that.
correct.
She's showing me the yellow over here.
The yellow boxes are something we need to come back to. but
Right.
He still made an edit on certain things. We just didn't come up with a consensus for the change.
Okay, so you guys are requesting that the council has the final vote on who sits on the council, when in fact, you're not the political party, or whoever the majority isn't the political party that's nominating that person. So,
Just like boards and commissions. We have to vote on someone to be a part of the library board of advisors, but not to sit on the town council when these people, we approve the budget, we approve the board of ed budget, we approve moving money around in town. Like, we are the final decision on many things in town, but we have to vote on people getting appointed to different boards and commissions, but they can just come sit up here, and this is an honor. It's a great honor.
but do you
It should
not
feel
think that
way.
they were vetted by the nominating party?
Of course, but so are the people on boards and commissions. But I'm sorry, that's the reason why we have elections and the majority rules, and that's not,
Election doesn't even compare to having a nomination be appointed to the council. There's no comparison, except the only comparison is they come from the same political party to fill that seat. That is the only comparison.
I disagree. Respectfully, I disagree.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I would just say, you can't compare boards and commissions. Those are not elected positions. It's a completely different scenario.
Exactly. It's more important.
But you keep using them as an example that you appoint.
I'm saying you
appoint
want us
people
to
boards
still
and commissions.
approve, the town council to approve, not once but twice. They have to go through a first reading and a second reading, so that could take multiple meetings. But to sit on the town council, it's, hey, this is who we've appointed, come take a seat. That, to me,
The
it's,
seat was won by that political party, whoever it is.
I understand.
They're entitled to that seat.
My recommendation is that particular party, whoever it is, again, could be Republican, Democrat, whomever, they hold the responsibility to either take, like to Attorney Corrella's comment, hey, maybe we should come up with another name, or hey, maybe we should meet with them a little further, and the two-party leaders come together and they talk, force them to talk to each other, right? So it's the responsibility of the appointed person or party that they're coming from to either continue it on or come up with another name. And that's your scenario of preventing it from being this never-ending cycle.
Okay, so let me suggest something to you then. If a group of counselors votes not to seat someone, they should give to the mayor in writing the reasons why that person was not voted in within that 30 days.
No, I think that should be publicly for transparency purposes.
Well, the mayor should get it at least, so that we know what the reasons are.
So now we have to give written responses for everything we vote on?
No, just for this one incident, filling the seat. Because otherwise, you're just voting no, and like I say, you can run out the clock for 90 days. But you never know why you're voting no against somebody.
It's a good point. To state the reason why, instead of just voting no, but to state the reason why you're voting no, and that way the political party knows why, and then they can go back and choose another name.
I think,
Counselor Carey?
I'm sorry. I think, though, that, since we've, are dragging out this whole thing, we did very clearly, in fact, I had like a 2-page letter that I read in public as to why I voted no. So I think that the person knew, because we talked to them multiple times, and I have all the text messages back and forth, and I did have a 2-page letter that I reviewed and told the whole town why I was voting no. So I don't think that we were being, secretive about it. It was really nice and clear. Yeah.
I'd like to make a point of order. We need to be looking at the charter for the future, not for one situation. Like, no disrespect to you, Mr. Town Manager. There's a lot of things in here about the town manager. Now, if somebody has a particular opinion on Michael Maniscalco or Attorney Corrella with things the town attorney's mentioned in here as well, this is for the future. If this doesn't get opened again in the next 60 years, well, Mr. Maniscalco is not going to be the town manager. It's not what happened before is the reason why. That is not what I'm thinking about at all, and I hope nobody else is as well. This is the scenario moving forward and for the future. So these old scenarios getting brought up I don't really appreciate, because they shouldn't have any indication or giving us any sort of direction on how we want to vote on these things. The folks involved and whatever was involved before are hopefully never going to be involved in this again. We're talking about a situation that happened. We shouldn't be. We should be focusing on, do we agree with this or not? And now we're talking about, yeah, gave my public notice on so-and-so. I think we need to just focus on this, tell why you don't like it, and we move on.
I like the changes we discussed, so I'm acting within the 30 days. Correct,
Yeah. A separate sentence.
correct.
Got it.
Okay, do we have a consensus on the rewrite?
But we can make note that we're going against the recommendation of the CRC on this in our minutes? What?
It goes back to the CRC at this
Okay.
next step.
Okay,
anyway. They'll
okay.
know- They know.
And then they
Got
have,
it.
what, 30 days, and then it comes back to us?
Thank you.
Where's our next one? Okay, 704 was the big one. Yep, the budget. Voting a referendum on the budget. We were going back and forth on that one. no referendum, a referendum with a trigger. The CRC, their final recommendation is no budget referendums. And there's no changes in the actual. Yes. Budget referendum, recommendation from the commission is no budget referendum. And a few over here, are you saying to do a 5.5% trigger to set it off if the budget goes above 5.5? Councilor Pendleton.
Oh, thank you. Oh, no, you didn't have to call me first. You can go with
No,
somebody
I'm looking
else.
at you.
No, I just had a question.
Yep.
5.5%, Mr. Maniscalco, using the current budget that we're in right now, what would that be? Do the math of everything, please. I'll give you a little bit of time. That's my only
For
question.
actual dollars?
Thank you. Just give me a little bit of time. Continue, Madam Mayor, please, with someone else.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
I disagree with setting a limit, with any kind of a limit. I think since we're talking about future councils, I just don't think it's proper to hamstring a future council. You know, look at something like the school budget. The school budget is based largely on the population of the school and the number of kids. That's what she's got her budget based on. What if in the future there's another explosion in the school system, you know, in the growth of the school system, not literal explosion, or something catastrophic happens in the town and, you know, money has to be raised, like hamstringing the town this way, I don't think or the council is a good idea. And we also had a discussion just, last meeting, or not last meeting, 2 meetings ago, about holding referenda, not in, you know,
March.
outside of the election cycles.
Yep.
And, you know, people didn't think that that was something that we should do. Well, if a council in the future goes above this trigger that triggers a referendum, then, you know, should they be allowed to hold a referendum when it's not in an election year? They can't wait until November to hold a referendum because our budget has to be set. You know, statute says we have to have a budget by X date. So, you know, that can't happen. So you're basically saying that there has to be a special referendum. But we just had a big discussion 2 weeks ago about how there shouldn't be any special referendums. So I think that it's best not to hamstring future town councils by putting a limit.
So are you with taking the trigger out? Correct. Is that what you're saying, correct?
I'm with the
Recommendation
the
from the
recommendation
commission?
from the commission, yes, of no referendums for budgets.
Councilor King, do you have any,
No, I agree with the recommendation.
no ref?
Correct.
Back to you, Councilor Pendleton.
Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Do you have my answer?
So 5.5% is about $7,150,000.
Increase?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
What do you mean?
How, would that be physically, financially possible to do something like that with a cap at 5.5%? So the whole budget, including the Board of Ed and everything else, can only go up $7 million. Is that what this is saying?
For the trigger.
What?
That's to force a.
That would then
that's to
trigger a
force
referendum.
That would trigger a referendum.
So if the budget came in
So-
at 5.4%, there would be no trigger to have a referendum. That's why the 5.5.
And where are we at now with the percentage? What did it go up?
Our budget's not done right now.
No, I mean this present year that we're in.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head right now.
4 point-
It's- Yeah. Yeah.
3.9. I see. Okay. Yeah, I'm against the cap and I'm against going to referendum. Yeah, and spending $45,000, because if you do it 3 times, you know, like Vernon has it written 3 times, and then you go back to the original, and it'd equal $45,000, but we can't spend it on other stuff right now, $16,000. So, you know, we have no idea where we'd be in the future, and that's really, us dictating for future council is not a good thing, and to put a number and a cap in our charter is not a good thing either. No, because we have no clue. We have no clue what's going to happen. No clue. And if you look at where we're going to be with the schools in a couple of years, you know, where we are financially presently, I don't even think. And then the referendum, and then what are you going to do? You're going to spend that money and come back and go back and go back, and then it's going to prolong, and we might not meet our deadline, and then, you know, which is state statute, or is that charter-driven, our deadline?
The deadline here is charter,
Charter-driven?
5/22, May 22nd.
Is it charter-driven, not state? Okay. So, yeah, I'm not for a referendum, and I'm not for a cap, just saying.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I just want to ask Attorney Corella, based off of Counselor Fitzgerald's comment, I'm not saying I disagree with you, just because one of your points was that the special referendum vote. I believe during that discussion, didn't you say there's certain items that are would be protected by that, like Board of Ed or town items where a March referendum could still happen? Didn't you say there were some state statutes that?
No.
Oh,
No.
I thought I was, I'm dreaming that.
I think so.
Okay. I thought there were certain scenarios where,
You can have a referendum anytime.
okay, all right. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I had too much coffee. I'm still a little on the fence with this. I think this was probably the best discussion we had last week, which is why it's coming back. I think both sides made some good points, and I'm still undecided. I just don't know what that percentage would look like. I agree with Counselor Pendleton about the potential future, the number being an issue. So I think it's kind of hard to predict what, you know, maybe that percentage is perfect, you know, and that's great, but maybe it becomes a problem in, you know, 15, 20 years, and we don't know that. So I still kind of on the fence with that one, so I don't really,
Madam Mayor,
I guess I'm abstaining from a consensus if that's,
For now.
if that's a, yeah, for now.
Yes, Deputy,
No worries. I would just like to point out that the,
That
Give me
we
a s-
agreed on something for the first
no,
time? Oh, okay.
maybe. You and I, maybe. The budget, what's the budget? $250,000 where the money goes in. The tax,
tax stabilization.
Stabilization.
there you go. The tax, thank you. The tax stabilization fund was set many years ago when I created that, and back then it was set at a certain percentage and a certain amount. Here we had to go, y'all went back last year and increased it. So not knowing what the future holds, it proves right there that you had to increase it. So that's my case in point with this, is we shouldn't put any cap or put any referendum out there, which is going to cost the town even more money. But there should not be a cap whatsoever, because we have no idea. Our cap was already increased by tax stabilization. So, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Carey?
Can you skip me for the moment?
Counselor Balboni? I'm going down the line.
I have nothing to say. I mean, a referendum's not a big deal, and 5.5% is more than enough. And it's by year, so it goes up every year by that.
Well, are you,
I'm all for a referendum, and 5.5 is high in my opinion, but I would go with it if that's what the majority decides.
so you're yes for a referendum?
Absolutely.
Counselor Begansky?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence too, but I think I'm leaning more toward the yes for the referendum. I think it's just kind of I don't want to say forces, that's the wrong adjective, but requires us to do our due diligence on the budget, make sure we keep it below that percentage if we don't want to force it to a referendum. And then I think at some point, we're spending a lot of the taxpayers' money. They should have a say in how it gets spent. And quite frankly, what we're talking about here is whether or not we're actually sending this item to referendum. It's not even an actual item. That's what we're actually arguing about. But I do think that the voters should have that option. So that's it.
Councilor Carey? You're all set, right? Sorry. Okay. Because of the fade off there.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody made really good points, and the thought process was more that, and maybe 5.5 is too low, maybe it should be 6, but I do think there's a point at which we should let the voters, and this is not to abdicate at all, our responsibilities. I think our responsibility is to be as fiscally responsible as possible with these budgets. But, you know, I do think there's a point at which you're getting so high in your percentage increase, and because it's a percentage, it does increase every year, right? That it would make sense to allow the voters to have a say. And again, I don't have a problem if you think 5.5, I mean, I like 5.5, but if you thought 6 was better, you know, but because it is a percentage, it will flux on last year's budget, and I don't think that we can allow budgets to get so big all the time that, you know, we're not taking into consideration our residents. And hopefully we're doing that well before we ever get to the referendum cutoff. That's why it was set as high as it was. But, so I kind of think I'd like to keep it going to referendum, but I'm okay if somebody wants to raise the percentage.
I'm kind of,
Can I just make 2 points for you guys? And I don't mean to interrupt your debate, but 2 items that the town attorney and I were just talking about. First of all, you do have the right to send anything to a referendum as it is. So you could send, in theory, you could send the budget to a referendum at any time now. Secondly, if you do have a trigger in place, we need to think about the way that language works as it relates to the timing of actually approving the budget and how that actually works. Because I would suggest that having a budget done by July 1st is imperative for the effective operation of our community. A lot of communities that do have referendums end up blowing that July 1st deadline, and it has some really significantly detrimental impacts to communities, which I've personally seen and experienced. So I think you have to work out that in conjunction with doing your trigger, you need to really put together a timeline that's going to get you a budget by July 1st. And remember, just because you send it to a referendum doesn't mean it actually is going to pass. And there's a fair chance it could actually fail. And in the event it fails, then what do you do? So I think we need to, if that's the direction that the council wants to go, we need to figure that out, because we need to rework the entire timeline, not only for the town, but also the Board of Ed and how they do their budget, how we do our budget. Capital budget needs to be redone, the whole shebang. So just be aware of those.
well, what I was going to say is what Deputy Councilor King said last week. We were elected to look at the budget. We've gone through budget meetings. We did the budget working group last year. We went line by line by line by line. And there was the budget working group. There were some new folks on there who were surprised at how tight the budget already was. So we were elected, as Councilor King said last week, to look at the budget. We're affected by what we vote on. So it's not, if it has to go up, I'm not happy it's going to go up. I don't think anybody here is happy that it's going to go up. So with the way things are going, for me, I'm going to have to, because I was elected here, so I'm going to say no on a referendum. That's, even with the trigger, that's, who knows what's going to happen. I mean, the trigger can go up. You can have a budget that could go up 6%. Now you're over that trigger, definitely. So if you're over it once, you're going to be over it all the time. Correct. Councilor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only question that I had was, well, I did want to say, first of all, to the point of the town and the people of the town not having a voice, we have multiple public hearings.
Correct.
So they do have a voice that way. The second piece is in regards to a town budget, how would you determine, let's just say you are at 5.5, how do you then determine who gets what piece of the cake? Because we have the Board of Ed and we have the town. Let's just take those two just for our residents. How do you then say, okay, if it's above 5.5, but then who do you take away from? Like, how do you? No, not if it fails, but I mean, again, we sit in a budget meeting and we sit here and we write everything down and say, but then at a certain point, I'm just thinking of my own household budget.
Well, you
I'm
know,
saying we can't.
you're going to get close to that trigger, so who
Right.
are we going to
Who are you going to take from? At a certain point, I'm going to say, no, you can't have Captain Crunch. But based off of this, you don't know, and then my daughter might say, but I want oatmeal. How do I make that determination between Roman having Captain Crunch and Sophia having oatmeal? That's the one thing you haven't thought about. I understand what you're saying, but then you really get stuck in regards to, okay, well, now we're going to say, because you would have to, because now you're, what's the word you use? You're bootstrapping, whatever, you're hamstringing either one of those boards. And then eventually we're going to have, to a certain extent,
What, cut services, right?
well, not so much
You don't
cutting
want-
services, but we're gonna have a fight. Where are you gonna do it? Well, we're gonna have a fight in town. We're gonna have, say, for example, and just using them because they are, Dr. Carter writing stuff in her opinion column, Mike Maniscalco writing something in his, and why this is why I should get more. And I don't think that's your intent.
No, that wasn't.
And that's what this would drive us towards. And so that's, again, I'm not for the referendum, but I just think it could go a whole different direction than what you're actually trying to intend, which is we want to keep our taxes low if we can. Because if we do set that type of whatever it is, it could be 10%. And then somebody's going to say, well, I should get 7 because I got more kids. And then Mike's going to say.
Right, because if you're setting it that high, and you know your budget is going to be low.
That's not, yeah.
You can artificially inflate it.
You could, which I brought up last time, but that's all I'm saying is that
Right.
when you put in that percent, then you're going to have fights that I don't think that, again, was your intent. Thank you.
No, thank you. So, I know you're a no, you're a no, you're a no, you're on the fence. And I was a no. Counselor Balboni and Bugansky are a yes, and Counselor Carey is a maybe raise the percent.
Well, I mean, I actually understand, you know, Councilor King, what you were saying. And, you know, again, I thought it was a way of trying to, you know, my hope was that by having it in there, it would kind of set a threshold that nobody would ever get past. But Councilor Pendleton, I agree that we don't know what the future brings, although hopefully not 5.5% budgets. So, I mean, I'm okay. If this council thinks that we should skip it, I'm all right skipping it. For what?
The percentage.
Oh. So, yeah, I mean, I'm okay going with everybody else.
Deputy Mayor?
I would just say, I don't think enough people attend, like, we really don't have anybody here tonight, the meetings. I do like the point that was brought up that you can hold a referendum at any time. So I would just say to the public, if there are hundreds, if not thousands of people that are outraged by the budget that's proposed this year, I would like to think that if we had a line out the door of folks that wanted us to send it to referendum, then we would all do that, right? But unfortunately, a lot of these things that we vote on, some that we all believe are pretty big, we don't really get so many people coming out or writing us emails, and then we hear about it after the fact. So I would say, knowing that all of us 9 or the future 9 or whatever the council ends up being in the future, have that ability to send it to referendum in a response from the voice of the people. I would say that, accepting the recommendation for no referendums, I would accept that, because I know for a fact that if we had an overwhelming, it's not because of you, it's because of everybody, and I just know that, me personally, if there was an overwhelming expectation, that, again, that goes for this year too, so let it be known. If you guys are outraged by the proposed budget, let us know, and then we can decide whether or not we want to have a referendum. So I'm going to accept the recommendation.
Great, so that means, that gives us 6. 6 as a consensus for no ref. Councilor Balboni, got something?
Yeah, we almost done.
Yes, I know. The gender neutral sections, 56, line 56. I believe Attorney Corella got all the general neutral.
Hope I did.
Line 56, Counselor. Page 21 on the,
They just wanted me to just go through and do it. Got it.
yeah. Yeah, there's no he, she, it's like better words, not them and they. That threw me off when I was trying to read that. Right, yeah, that's why, yeah, because he did that, because we talked about that last week. The they and them, that threw us off. Okay, and then we have to go back and add section 610, the town clerk position. Councilor Pendleton brought that up under departments, positions. The section, chapter 6, administrative department and officers. For town clerk, section 610. It's in the actual charter. Wasn't it also on our 610? No. It is. But section 610, but I think it was, it was to take it off. Correct. To make it an appointed position. But you were worried about section 610, to add it to the.
Hello, hi. Okay, yes, but do you know where it is on our, from our CRC?
It was embedded under 303.
Oh, it was
I think.
it's number 2.
Correct.
Under 203.
Right.
Okay, so, no, it's not there.
It
That's
was
not the one.
under, section 303,
303, got it.
which is
Getting there.
clerk of the council, but
Yep, 303. I want to make a clarification. May I, Madam Mayor, now?
Sure.
Once I find 303? Okay, thank you. Clarification for last week with the words being used in interchangeable of appointed to hire when discussing this particular position. And I spoke with the town attorney this evening and requested that the words appointed within the charter, if they're not applicable, because hire is where you earn, I'm going to let you jump in, Mr. Town Attorney, on the hire and the appointed, because it says, we have a couple of, you guys have examples in front of you, the town clerk, where, that were taken from another town, but on the back of the Hebron is the sample language for the charter revision consideration, down at the bottom. The town clerk shall continue to hold the office until resignation, death, or removal for just cause. Just cause shall mean any continued and repeated failure to perform the duties of the town clerk, or any willful, material, or serious violations of any criminal statutes or common law fraud, or any other willful misconduct which is material injuriously to financial conditions or reputations.
so-
Everybody's got that. So read that. That should be part of, that should be part of the 60,
The 610
I believe so, the 610.
for under the departments, right? That's because you were
Yep, that's
concerned.
one of them, under the departments, yep. It should, right now, 610 was eliminated by the town attorney, but a paragraph should go in there which should be, or could be, the sample language or the charter revision consideration. Mr. Town Attorney, on the bottom there. Also with the hiring of the town clerk, it should be, it should be in conjunction, right here, it should be right here, by hiring and not electing or appointing a town clerk whose job would be specifically protected from political or administrative pressure by language added to the charter. So that should be in there, but also the hired town clerk will be someone that's proven, and this is in the job description, and that's on the Hebron one.
Yep.
And that would go to, but it would also be here, the town manager with the concurrence of the town council should have the power to hire a town clerk. The town clerk shall be the department head, and that's where they get their own department under the 610. So you can see under the two there, the 606 as an example, and the Hebron, like take a combination of these two, Mr. Town Attorney, and make it where it is not an appointment but a hired. The town manager with concurrence of the town council shall have the power to hire a town clerk. And that's where the other words.
So you want the town council to be involved with the town clerk hiring as well as like the town attorney?
The town attorney wouldn't be involved in hiring of the town clerk.
That's what I'm saying. You're saying the town council, just like we do with the hiring of the town attorney, you want the town council to be involved in that.
Bingo. Yes. Yes.
Is that what Hebron does?
Right here on that, the blank one right here under 606, in concurrence with the town council, the first sentence, town clerk. It says here, the town manager with the concurrence of the town council.
So you want the town clerk and the town attorney to be identical? Where the town council gets involved?
Yes, yes, yes.
This is
Yes.
legal language. I want English.
Right, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay.
So taking these two and making it a combination of, you know, the hiring of the town clerk, because we're creating a position in a department. And yes, the department would have itself at 610 under its department head
Yep.
there. But also with the way that it's done, but keep it short and sweet, because the charter is short and sweet. It just gives direct orders as to what and how. What, how, and when, I would say.
So you're basically saying this 606, which should be our section?
That would be, because we're creating, wherever it is here, the two, what'd you
So
say?
you want to make this 610 this 606.
Should be
our
204.
204.
Should be 204. No, that's the wrong one, sorry.
610.
No, it wouldn't be 610, because 610 is the department, or maybe 610, let's look at 610.
610 right now.
What's that?
610 is vacant.
Right. So what else does it say under the department heads there? Does it say that the town manager appoints?
Right, so that's where it should be.
But that's, yes, so that's where we're changing it to a hired. So 610 is where the combined in the paragraph, yes.
So this 606,
Along
From
with,
water- from
along with
Watertown
Hebrins, yep, combined
and
together would
Hebrins.
become 610.
okay.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Mr. Town Attorney?
Mr. Maniscalco.
Yeah, can I ask you a couple questions about it? 'Cause
Yeah.
we were just talking, so, are you saying that you want the position to be hired by the town manager with the approval of the town council? So whomever is hired would have to be brought to the town council, interviewed by them, and then the council would vote to approve them being in that position, am I correct?
No, in concurrence, like we do with the town attorney, where you make a recommendation and then you bring us in for executive session and
So then you would hire the town clerk?
no, in concurrence, working together.
No, you can
So if
only
you
have
brought someone
one-
to,
You can't have two different entities hiring somebody. You have to have one person hire somebody.
the town council wouldn't be
So
hiring.
so the town council would not be, so then I shouldn't say I'm trying to think how this would actually work, because let's just say you go and you bring somebody forward to the council. I'm gonna bring that person forward to you saying, this is the person I've gone out and sought and found as the town clerk. You're gonna vote to approve that person somehow? You're gonna interview that person and then vote to approve them? I don't see how.
No, it says here, the town manager with the concurrence of the town council shall have the power to hire a town clerk. You would
Okay.
have the power to hire a town clerk with the concurrence of the council.
So to get concurrence, that means I have to bring that individual forward to all of you. You would interview them and then vote.
Did we interview Rich? We did?
Yes.
Well, okay.
But I think that's a slightly
think that's different
That's a slightly
because-
different scenario because, Rich works for a different law firm. He's a hired contractor, essentially. You're talking about an employee in the town. So you have labor law that follows suit with all of that and all those other things. So where I'm kind of going is, if you're going to have a scenario where I go find somebody, bring it to you, you vote, and then we all get along and agree and say, yes, we've now hired this person, you're setting up a similar scenario to actually remove that individual. You have to think of both sides. And that can become really problematic, particularly when you're looking to have an employee in the town, not just.
Yeah, because don't forget, we don't hire a public works director. He does.
I understand
You
that, but
actually
the
don't
town clerk
hire.
is different.
I think you hire 2 employees in the entire town, myself and the clerk of the council.
That's it. Counselor Fitzgerald.
I think one of the things that we're trying to accomplish here, and again, not talking about any particular town manager, but right now, the town clerk is an elected position.
Correct.
And the town clerk follows the laws of the state of Connecticut. If the town clerk is now hired by a town manager, and let's say a town manager down the line, and this is completely hypothetical, and, don't read into the scenario that I'm about to come up with, but let's say a town manager somewhere down the line says to the town clerk, I no longer want you issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples or to Indian couples, anyone. Like, I no longer want you to do that. And the town clerk now would say, go pound sand. Like,
I can't, that's a state.
I'm elected, that's a state law, I'm elected by the people of
But I think she
town.
still has to follow state law, so there's no way the town
Yeah.
manager can.
Well,
I can
let her
actually answer
finish,
that.
but
I can
wait.
actually answer that. if
Can you let her finish? Go ahead.
So, in that scenario, that's putting that town clerk who is hired by the town manager under a lot of pressure to say no to their boss. And then, let's say they say no, and then, you know, the town manager tries to discipline that person. Then, you know, then it just sets off a whole cascade, and, you know, it could set up, you know, an atmosphere of fear and retribution within that office. And then, you know, are you acting independently and, you know, following the state statutes that you're supposed to be following, or are you following the direction of the person who has hired you and has the power to fire you?
Right, so I understand your point. The way it's set up with a manager-council form of government in terms of the employee-employer relation, a lot of our employees are required to follow state laws, very similar to like the town clerk. In that type of a scenario that you just laid out, in the event the manager told them, no, you're no longer going to issue that license, they're bound by state law to actually continue to issue that license. It's the job of the manager to uphold and ensure that the town is following those state laws as well as the laws within the charter, in which case the town manager is actually violating his responsibilities, and you as an elected body would then be able to remove the town manager.
Okay, it makes me a little,
I get you, like, there's
Yeah.
rocky road in between there, and, you know, we've seen, I personally, just being in the profession for a while, I've seen that rocky road play out. I will tell you that almost every single time it ends up in the right way, where, you know, whatever that scenario plays out to be, if the manager is pushing that employee to do something that is against the law, that typically that manager is no longer a manager, very simply.
And that town clerk can still go to the Secretary of State for
Oh, sure.
help, so that
Sure.
I'm being forced to do this and it's against state statute.
Yes, correct.
So there is that coverage for that person.
Correct. But I do think you have some challenges, getting back to the earlier scenario. And one thing I've seen in a number of communities in Connecticut with elected clerks, you can have a scenario where there's an elected clerk and maybe they don't come to work. They just don't show up to work, period. There's no way to remove that individual and replace them because they're elected. So in the event that it's an employee, you know, you want them to have to come to work, and that kind of a scenario. Those are more the concerns I think that we would want to make sure are addressed. I would less worry about the other scenario of, you know, getting some kind of direction that's, you know, counterintuitive to state law.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I do like the town manager hiring the town clerk. I just think, like in business, a board of trustees, let's say, you know, they're in charge of the executives of the company. They're not saying, I want to hire every single person all the way down the road, and it's our job to keep this town manager and future town managers accountable. So if we disagree with a certain hire, then it's our responsibility to bring that up in a review, address it, and I think we're definitely overstepping a bit. It sounds like Councilor Pendleton didn't want us to directly be hiring, but I think based off of what the town attorney and Mr. Maniscalco are saying, we essentially would be at that point, and I do think that's an overstepping of our responsibilities, but I do believe that the town manager should hire the clerk.
Thank you. Councilor Baganski?
Thank you. To Councilor Fitzgerald's point, I think that could happen in any right boss subordinate situation. So I don't think it's unique to just the town manager and a town clerk. So, and then to Councilor Pendleton, I think we should, just like any department head, it should be the town manager's responsibility to vet that person and hire him, hire and fire. I mean, that's his job. And ultimately, they report up through him to the council, right? And then where was I gonna go with that? I lost my train of thought. Too much medicine. I'm done.
Thank you. Counselor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only point that I was going to raise, and I have no problem now with removing the treasurer as an elected position. I guess my only concern would be, even on this page where it says any proposed termination shall be initiated, we definitely need to have that written into the charter, in my opinion. Any proposed termination shall be initiated only upon written complaint of town
Which
manager.
one you reading?
Just this.
The 606?
Yeah, the 606 piece. My concern, bottom line is that if there is a concern about firing, that it should come before the town council. I think my fear is, and since we're all talking futuristically, people just getting fired carte blanche because you may not agree. And if we don't know, and all of a sudden that person is let go, then there's nothing for that employee, because they're not a union employee, are they?
No.
No.
So there's no, so say for example, a town manager says, hey, I want you to do something. And yes, it may go against, but now all of a sudden, that clerk comes into the office every day and then it feels some level of intimidation, whether it's by the manager or by cronies. I'm just saying that the power of the removal, I don't necessarily disagree with the hire, I get that, but at the same time, my fear is that just because we don't agree about how something should be done, whether it's a state mandate or not, that now that person feels like they have no recourse. I could be way off, but I just want to kind of vet that piece out.
Would that be where the personnel committee would come in? No?
It would be I would think, if you don't mind,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would think it might be an HR thing, but again, you could easily have a scenario, and if we're going to change it, we just need to really think about all these different pieces, because at some point, somebody did. Even on this other stuff, it says the town council shall have the authority having the power of removal, subject to a hearing conducted by the town council. It doesn't say anything about HR. Again, they're not a union employee. So where's the recourse if there's an individual that feels some type of intimidation every day, even if they're following the letter of the law? Yeah.
May I respond?
Sure. Mayor?
Thank you. I believe it could be a personnel committee. That person could, and I could be wrong, but since we oversee the town manager, that individual could request to meet with the personnel committee to give us some insight on an individual that we oversee, I believe, like an executive session.
So the town actually has in its, I think, code of ordinances maybe, or in the charter, a personnel board of appeals. So in the event that somebody is terminated, they have that, they have that right to go to that body to do that. I do want to say some of this language, so there's different types of manager council forms of government. There's a manager council form of government like ours. There's also an administrator council form of government.
Like Ellington.
And I do worry some of these other languages are more of an administrator council form of government language. The administrator doesn't, in that scenario, doesn't have the higher firepower that a manager does. An administrator typically has to bring all recommendations for hiring and firing to a mayor and the board. So
that's what these two look like. They're more of the administrator.
They do sound like administrator forms of government.
Is there any way you can take this and make it more of a town council?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that we look at the language similar to like some of the other ones, like our fire marshal is very similar scenario, our building official is a similar scenario.
Okay.
You know, all those positions have other state agencies that they report to that provide guidance and recommendation, but yet they are hired and fired by myself.
But still, they have that protection from the town manager if something
Correct.
happens. Okay.
Out of curiosity, while I still have the floor, and since it was brought up, could a town employee reach out to the personnel committee if they do have an issue with, I guess, the town manager and clerk of the council?
904, Personnel Boards of Appeals.
But does that come to the personnel committee?
No,
No,
they're
there's
two
an
separate.
actual appointed board.
They're two
Okay, I
separate.
know, yeah,
But he's
but I'm just
asking-
wondering, is that something that,
I don't think
It could,
anybody's
right?
precluded from doing it either, yeah.
okay,
But
interesting.
that's not the Personnel Committee's duties or responsibilities. They have a specific set.
Right.
They have a specific set written on what their duties and responsibilities are, and in the charter, there's a Personnel Board of Appeals, and that's where the employee would go for whatever, and that's written in 904 of the charter.
You know, actually just thinking out loud, I mean, an employee of the town, all the employees are hired and fired by myself. The council hires me. I don't know if they can actually come to all of you, because that would probably violate, there's a section in the charter that says you're not supposed to have communications with employees outside of myself. So I'm wondering if
Not to
that
cut you
might-
off, we do have, it says, and I'm glad we're talking about this, 905, appeals by employees. Blah, 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 application of town personnel regulations is complied with preliminary grievance procedures prescribed by regulations issued by the manager, may, within 15 days after receiving written notice from the manager of the right to appeal, obtain a review of such action, alleged grievance, promptly presenting a written appeal to the Personnel Appeals Board. So we actually do have something.
There is coverage for,
We
Yeah,
actually do.
It's there.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to, it's probably may have never happened.
Two times.
Unfortunately or fortunately, right.
Two
But
times.
so there is one that if we do remove this treasure to my original question, it looks like there is something in place for somebody to say, hey, I disagree with this, blah, blah, blah. They have a right to appeal within 15 days to the Personnel Appeals Board, not to the council, but to the Personnel Appeals.
yeah.
But this,
No, that's the town clerk part.
but this
is what we're
also
talking about.
says holding a position in the classified service. This position is not in the classified service.
All our positions have a classification. So that, there's a classifications list, and that's what that's referring to.
And just to clarify, Madam Mayor, that this section 606 town clerk thing, the town of Watertown has the same exact form of government that we do. Council
Waterbury.
manager, Watertown.
Yeah, what it's on.
All right, so did we want to be involved in the hiring or not? I think we're going to say no, right? Just going to leave it with the town manager, correct? Okay. Okay.
Can the town attorney if we're, go ahead. I'm so sorry, go.
Oh, no, again, I was just going to respond to Counselor King, just to say, you were talking about, like, you wanted specific protections for the town clerk position, but we don't do that for any of the department heads. Well, right, no, but I was going to, even if we didn't have this, though, I was going to say, we don't do that for the department, department head for public works or building, so that's.
Right, but that's
We
what I'm
would have to
saying.
do all or nothing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't making it specific. I was saying anybody should really have, and that's why I asked if they were a union. Because if they're union, then it doesn't bother us anyway.
Right, and they got their union reps and all that, right?
And then my way back to my earlier point when I got sidetracked. I don't even know if we've gotten to this part yet, but I guess I'm in agreement with having it a hired position. Have we taken that vote yet?
No,
the clerk?
we haven't done a consensus on that yet. Well,
Okay,
and that's why I asked for clarification on hiring and appointing, because the word should be hiring, because you work for money.
Correct.
As of being appointed.
correct.
Um,
Agreed.
Good? Okay. Do you want to get a consensus on hiring the town clerk before I continue?
I think we did that last week, the town clerk. I think we were all in favor of the hiring.
Okay,
I
I'm in
think you were
favor.
just bringing up that
I'm in
section.
favor of it, okay? So, just
So
saying.
you're in favor, so I think we
Yes.
have a.
So if I could ask the town attorney to please create some type of statements, paragraphs,
Yeah, I'm going to add a section 610 there in lieu of what we took out that had to do with the town clerk and selectmen already. And we'll just add a section in there that the office of town clerk will be a hired position by the town manager. And we'll add some of the other language that's in 606 here that we can tailor to a manager-council form of government appropriately. It won't be this long. I like shorter is better. I think that's important to have a just cause termination provision in there.
I also, oh, go ahead.
But other than that, I think the rest of it is, we can skinny it up a little bit.
May I make a suggestion? Is when the job description, no. Yes, when the job description comes up, that the council would have some input with the town manager on that via the personnel committee, such as, like we did with the town manager. And when in his hiring says, if you're not a resident of South Windsor, you need to be within a year. It would be great if we could get our town clerk to move to our community within a year of hiring so they can be invested within our community and learn our community better, because they are a major role within our community that deals with everyone in our community. So to put something on there like that, like we did with the town manager, to have them come to South Windsor, to be a resident of South Windsor, within a year of hiring.
But then you might want to put a stipulation in, because some towns, so I think it happened with a town manager in Glastonbury, he couldn't find housing, so they had to, the council had to give an extension and all that, so you might want to have to do a caveat type. Because the way housing is in certain towns. And if you can't find, within a year, if you can't find a place, a house, you're going to have some consideration.
Well, maybe we can ask that the job description be shared with the town council prior to?
Yeah.
Would that be okay?
So the council does approve new job descriptions prior to, for new jobs. So that would have to come to all of you for approval if it's a new job. There already is a town clerk job description. I'm almost certain there's got to be one already in our HR department, so.
I wouldn't think so, because it was elected.
Yeah, but it's an employee of the town. It's still an employee of the town.
But there are no elected requirements. There were no elected requirements. It could be anybody be elected.
We'll go look tomorrow and see if there's one there.
Okay.
That being said, I think if you add a residency requirement to the position, you're probably talking about adding a significant amount of money to the salary as a result.
Oh, because it's expensive to live in South Windsor?
Well, not only that, but you're requiring somebody.
Okay, Councilor Pendleton.
You're requiring somebody
I
to
don't
move
know.
here too, you know?
Okay, could shut me off. I'm done.
Okay, I think our
Well, I was
Councilor
just, I mean,
Carey?
I think Mr. Maniscalco said it. I don't think the town clerk should be required to live in South Windsor. But we're very big salary scale differences. Plus, one of the reasons for having this as a higher position versus elected is so they don't have to be in South Windsor, because then you can get people who have all of the skills. Like you might be the assistant town manager in another town, and if we, or clerk, and and if we lost, our town clerk,
And I think Councilor Pendleton wanted to go back to the town treasurer discussion, correct? Three.
Okay, so as the treasurer's function and responsibility to be assigned to the finance department, I think we should take the recommendation of the CRC, as I had mentioned before. The finance department already does what the treasurer does, and they can do what the treasurer does if there's anything small. The having the independent audit keeps us safe with our money, and you're not getting somebody new every 2 years that doesn't know anything about finances or what's going on. So I think we're safer if we go to the finance department with everything, eliminate the treasurer's elected, appointed, whatever it is.
I think, we want to make it appointed.
No, we want to eliminate the treasurer completely. That's what the recommendation
Right,
is.
have in the finance department, the title treasurer added to one of
No,
the job functions.
no. The
Because that's not what,
No, that's what they're saying, is the treasurer's responsibilities will be assigned to the finance department. They're already doing that now presently, plus whatever they're not doing, they'll just pick up on the responsibilities, that little responsibility. And again, as I said, it's audited independently.
And I already commented on that at the last meeting, that I think, I wrote, I picked it as appointed. I mean, Counselor Fitzgerald and I used the term appointed, but it's being eliminated, so it's going to be absorbed by the finance
Finance
department.
department, yes, because last week you were presenting it as hired or appointed, and it's not. It's saying eliminate the treasurer's position completely and let finance take over the duties of the treasurer department, which they're already doing anyways. So, and then they have that independent audit, which makes us a lot safer with our finances.
Yeah, that was my, Counselor Fitzgerald's comments last week.
Yeah, yeah, so that's what I wanted to point out, that it was presented wrong at last week's meeting. But, so it should be represented as elimination of the treasurer's position.
As like an elimination of the Board of Selectmen, same thing.
Yes,
So Board of Selectmen and Treasurer eliminate.
yes.
I'm for that, that's what I was for.
Sorry, honey. Oh, sorry. That's okay. Yes.
All right.
eliminate both, yes.
So,
Just the correction on the way it was presented last week. Can you get a consensus on that?
okay, you will eliminate Counselor Fitzgerald? We can do that. Only kidding. Counselor King? Yes, eliminate? Correct. Deputy Mayor?
I would like to keep the treasurer. My comments will stay consistent as they were last week.
Okay, and my comments are the same. As I said appointed, but since we're eliminating. Counselor Carey?
I think we should keep the treasurer. I do agree in reading the charter that some of the language in here needs to be revised, but, and I think the finance department does all the work and they do an awesome job. Fabulous. But I also think sometimes it's a really good thing to have a second pair of eyes, and I would use the recent filing for, our bonding. And the recent filing we did for the bonding. And I mean, the current treasurer made some recommendations. I thought they were good recommendations. He caught a couple things, and we do have an audit, but audits are generally like a point in time. And so I think that having a treasurer who's, looking at things from a different perspective.
Sorry to interrupt. Do we know what the treasurer recommended?
Yes, actually, he came and spoke to us and.
Yes,
with
so
some-
since Counselor Pendleton wasn't here, so, and there could be other people listening, so what was the recommendations, do we remember?
Yes, there were a couple of recommendations. One wasn't the last meeting that he came, it was the meeting before where he suggested that
Right.
in the language of the bonding, it said that, if, you don't spend the money for this reason, you can spend it for other things. And his recommendation was to take that language out because, if we're going to referendum and getting, we've gotten people to agree to things in our referendums, then we should be spending the money based on what people have voted for.
I think those comments are actually in the bonding referendum that is coming from the bond council. That's why that was worded that way.
Right, so then it got
That's from the
changed.
bond council.
But then it got changed, right?
No, it stayed. That referendum that we did not go for the fields, that referendum comments from the bond council stayed because it came from the bond council. Thank you. Well, council
But,
attorney.
I mean, just because bond attorneys write something doesn't mean you have to keep it. Well,
Isn't that state statute that you have to address? Yeah. I mean, that's what you pay for, to make sure that it's legally correct.
And those bond questions are the same in every referendum for bonding of projects.
If the treasurer says to put something, so that's what you're saying, the treasurer said to put something in there, and you expect it to be in there, but it's not. The bond council put in what they wanted, know what they wanted to put in there and how it should be written. Yeah. The treasurer doesn't have the authority to tell bond council what to put in a referendum.
well, but I mean, also in the documents that we went to Vaughn with? Didn't we make some didn't he find some things in those documents, some errors?
He worked alongside our finance department, myself, our financial advisor, and our bond attorney to review the official statement, and I believe there were some clerical errors he identified that were fixed in the process, but that was a joint process with everybody.
But yeah, absolutely. I guess my point is that sometimes it's a good thing to have a second pair of eyes on things. And I think that, that seems to have been the intent, although I agree there's very specific language in here that doesn't apply anymore. But it seems to be the intent when they put this in the charter in the first place. And I think it's a good idea to have that role. So that's just my opinion. I think we should leave the elected position alone. We probably should clean up this language, though, because it seems, I'm sure he doesn't do these things.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, Counselor Pendleton?
I mean, the charter was written, 50 years ago? Okay, back then, the finance office, and the treasurer and all that, at that time, a treasurer was needed. $5,000 is like a lot of money back then. Now $5,000 is nothing. So, in having second pair of eyes, there's how many upstairs in finance? There's a lot of eyeballs, plus your eyeballs. So there's a lot of eyeballs that are looking at this, more than two sets of eyes, or two people looking at this, at what finance does. So having a treasurer for our town when we have a full-fledged financing office that does everything that they're already doing. They're already doing it, so there's no need for a treasurer. Finance is already doing what the treasurer is doing. They're already doing it. So there's no need for repetition. There's no need for that. So there's no need, there's no need. There's plenty of eyes, and they're already doing it. They're already doing what the treasurer does.
All right, let me get to, Counselor Buganski. I'll skip over Counselor Balboni till he sits down. Counselor.
No, I say keep the treasurer the same way it is.
Nothing more?
I would agree. I say we keep, it's an elected position, it's volunteer, you're not paying for it, and it's just an extra set of eyes, it's checks and balances. It's no disrespect to the finance department, but they're human, they can make mistakes, and, it's just, an audit is, to Councilor Carey's point, it's a moment in time, and it's as much, they're looking at more process and procedure as much as anything as well. They're making sure that everybody's following the right process and procedure. They might not be getting into the weeds and some of the dollars where the spending is going, and it's all going to depend on who's elected to that position to begin with. The current treasurer, he gets into the weeds, and he seems to enjoy that. Someone else may not do that. You're going to get what you pay for, which is zero. It's elected. So again, I don't think it's an onerous burden on anyone. And since we're not paying for it, I say we keep it as is.
Okay. Even though Counselor Lewis isn't here, he was keeping it as elected, so. But this is just going to the commission for next week anyway, so when they come back, we'll have another bite at it. I think we hit them all, didn't we?
I think you have to hit the list.
Which one?
Make sure everybody's okay with the gender.
Oh, the gender neutral, I saw the changes that Attorney Corella did, and they look fine to me. The gender neutral. We got rid of some of that he, she, they, them. It's clearer English, so I think we're all good on that, correct? Okay. Okay, next is Attorney Corella. Next week for our meeting, how are we to present to the Charter Commission next week?
Town manager and I were just talking about that. I think the easiest way to do that is to send a red line version of the charter back to you with all the changes that you've discussed tonight.
Okay.
And then you can have a simple resolution with, Exhibit A attached.
This is what we are presenting
And
to?
This
Okay.
is going to go back to the Charter Revision Commission.
Okay,
I think it's the easiest way, unless you want to see some other version of that.
no, I think when you send it back, if you want to use a different color next time, where some of the changes are. Because right now you're using blue. So whatever changes you make that we discussed tonight.
They'll be in a uniform color, okay? There won't be two different colors.
All right.
Do you want to see an updated version of what you discussed tonight in addition to what the red line was before? Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking? I'm happy to provide it in whatever manner you want to see it. I think for clarity's sake, in my mind, it's easier to have one version with all the changes as a final set. We can talk about, and I've made notes of which things are changing from tonight's version.
Right, for tonight's version, we have a new 610. So
Right.
that'll stand
I do
out.
610, here, this is what I have. I have 203 remains the same, except I did not take out Board of Selectmen members. That needs to come out in section 203. So that'll be a change. Counselor Carey wants me to take a stab at section 204 and the P and Z Commission appointments, right, or election, and how that works. So that's going to be something that you're going to have to talk about next meeting, and I'll get that to you. 208, we tweaked on the filling of vacancies. I think the only other section was 610, the town clerk. And I'll go through the whole charter and just make sure that that conforms to taking the town clerk out
Okay,
of the appropriate sections where it says elected. Yeah, that's it.
okay. All good? Oh, Counselor Pendleton?
There was one that Mr. Maniscalco said that he gets to get back to us on. Do you remember that one?
That was
for
about that was about in the event I was unable to perform my duties, and I believe Attorney Corella's already got the changes in there that met what we were looking to do. So
Oh, okay, so we don't need to discuss that?
no.
Okay.
Yes, that's 208, right? Yeah, that's the council position, 208.
I'm sorry. May I?
Yes, go
I
ahead.
just made a list of stuff from home. Number 609 for town attorney, which is number 36 on our paper, I believe. I could be wrong. Let me catch up on the colored one. So many here, because I was looking at the original when I watched the meeting.
Yeah, the change is appointed by the manager with the approval of the council and shall be. I think the word approval was changed from advise.
Okay, I don't understand. Change to make appointment of town attorney responsible town manager with advice from town council? So what are you saying?
Advice is changed to approval. So
I
if you look
gotcha.
at the hard copy version,
I got the colored version.
no, if you look at this,
Oh, that,
this has got the corrected language.
okay, I have 3 things there. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then, okay. And I'm caught up, thank you,
You're all set?
from watching the meeting, and yes, and all my colored papers, yes, thank you.
So if you
Oh.
can turn off your light, thank you very much. Okay, seeing no other business? What? Nope. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye? Aye. Adjourned. Thank you.